Hello Leo friends, I'm Annie Botticelli and welcome to my video, Leo January 2021 Astrology Must Knows. This month we've got an epic beginning to a crazy new year. We've got a lot of changes ahead, just like we had a lot of changes in 2020. We have similar types of changes as far as outer planets getting together in major ways coming in 2021, okay? So we are going to have some carryover of the things that came up in 2020. The evolution of those things are going to come in the form of quite a few clashes with outer planets throughout this year. And that's going to be very notable, and it's going to kick right off right at the beginning here. But there are quite a lot of things to celebrate besides the possible, we'll say, crap storm that's going to come from these series of clashes. And let's talk about those things, because we always want to talk about things to celebrate when we're in the midst of great transition and challenge, right? Okay, so the first thing to celebrate is that we start the month out, and this is specifically for Leo. We start the month out with Venus still in Sagittarius and with Mars still in Aries. Those are fire signs, fellow fire signs. So this nice flow that you've had from the end of November, all of December, where there was a fire sign predomination, that is continuing into the early part of January. So some of your best flow and most ease and continued, passion and inspiration and motivation might really be in that early time. So you want to capitalize on any momentum that comes then, because as we get to the middle of the month, the climate of the whole astrological field changes dramatically. The middle of the month, we start to slide towards Mercury retrograde, which starts at the end of the month. And so the second half of the month is when things get called into question, things get more internal, things get more short-term with our plans. And but the first half of the month is supremely amazing for taking action. And that's because all of the planets are moving direct. This is very rare that we have all the planets moving direct. Even all of the goddess asteroids except one are moving direct. So when that happens, there's a lot of forward movement, a lot of momentum. And even if there's restrictions that come from these other aspects that are happening this month, and if the crap's hitting the fan as it may, because we're sort of in the midst of a major world upheaval and major human transition here, and that's happening and that's continuing, and there will be things that come up from that. But amidst that, there's all this magic, and there are many people who have experienced a lot of magic, even those who have had hardships through this. So the chance for magic is very much alive. The chance for miracle breakthroughs is very much alive. And you'll definitely want to capitalize on anything forward movement wise in the first half of the month, okay? And just expect things are going to get sleepy and inward and backwards and all of that for the second part of the month. If you have to make any commitments, make plans, have your big launches, the first half of the month is great for that. It's actually the greatest time that it's been in a very long time. This December and first half of January is like the epic opening for forward movement. So that's very noteworthy. But there is one caveat to that I'll get into more when we talk about this, this Jupiter square Uranus aspect that's occurring on the 17th, but it's really covering the whole month. There are some cautions with this, and this has to do with not being too extravagant, not overpromising too much, not overdoing or overstating or over anything, because it's just not indicated with this. Like, people might feel this compulsion to do something crazy. And in some cases, if there's calculated risk and your intuition's online and you cross-reference with people around you and it's sound, then you can move forward. But people might start doing some crazy things because the quest for freedom is going to be very strong at this time. And certain freedoms might start being claimed. But certain restrictions might start coming in other ways that seem to go against the freedom. But the topic of freedom is going to be very much at hand this month and this whole year. What does freedom mean? What can we change freedom to mean so we can feel more free in a situation where we're not free? There are people who have experienced a massive amount of freedom even while locked down, like a year lockdown. And that's a state of mind, and that's a different way of applying your definition of freedom. So definitely be thinking about this topic of what does freedom mean to you? How can you adjust your definition of freedom to match what the circumstances are so you can have more peace? Where can you find freedom in ways that you wouldn't have freedom? Like, for instance, let's say you don't feel free because you can't, schedule a whole bunch of things. Well, maybe you can decide to feel free because you don't have to schedule a bunch of things. And you can just you're free to take it day by day. So you see what I mean about this reframing process? That's going to be a big theme this month and in the time to come. Now, also specifically for Leo, there are a couple of places in the chart that are really standing out that are going to have a lot of activity. One has to do with your creativity and your creative expression, children, or your plans for children, and your romantic relationships. Also, I call this your bucket list house, like the things you've always wanted to do. And this is also like fun and hobbies. So there is some karma working off there, and it could be burning off in the way of addictions. So and this is through the transiting South Node. So if you have any addiction, which humans have addictions, even if they're not like the typical substance type of addictions that people think of as an addiction, think about this topic because it's coming up for you to look at, and you might be able to make some really good headway, and there might be some key people in your life that can help you to break through and to see how you might not be free because of this certain addictive way of being or way of seeing things. Another house that's coming up really strong for Leo is your health house. And this, you've been hearing me talk about this if you've been listening to my reports. I've been talking about this for a long time because you've had so much outer planet activity here. Outer planets are the ones further from us, so they move more slowly. And when they're in a house or a field of houses are fields of experience that we have as humans. When they're moving through that sector of your chart, they're there for a long time, anywhere from a long time to like a long time. So you've got two of them that are starting to transition their way out of the three that had been in there. But now in this month, you also have the inner planets, the ones that move quickly. They are for a short-term tour. Okay, so hopefully health breakthroughs, information, discipline, trying new things, different ways of approaching illness. Maybe if you're not into mind, body, spirit, maybe you'll add in mind, body, spirit. Maybe if you are into mind, body, spirit, you'll go in to do some mainstream stuff, just anything that accentuates or expands, trying to do something different to get a different outcome if you've been stuck with a health issue. And this also has to do with your daily regimen, like, weights and yoga and walking and other exercise. So this is a good time to bring this into the forefront, and you might naturally see it just coming into the forefront. Anything having to do with pets or animals. Also, this could be an amazing time to get a pet, especially the first half of the month. If you're wanting a long-term pet, if you're doing fostering and things like that, the second half of the month lends itself to more short-term types of things. So that's being highlighted. And also just kind of restructuring. I mean, this is a new year, and even though the astrological new year doesn't happen until March, this is a new year, and it will feel like a new year. And you can start to make your New Year's resolutions. Some people don't like resolutions, but it can't hurt to set them, you may as well work on this because the energy is there for you to get your discipline situated, for you to get your systems, the things that you do every day. If you're in a funk and you need to spice it up, this is a month where you can really do that. And there is a strong energy that's going to be taking over as a major theme of experimentation. Okay, so while we've got planets moving through Capricorn, that's like traditional things that work, the typical like going back to the basics. But then we've got this Aquarius energy, and that's about not traditional, completely unconventional. So the more you can think of like, could an unconventional solution solve a problem that you have, or could something unconventional expand your experience? Those are the types of things that are coming up. And this is also your sector of work. Okay, so work is going to be a big topic. The economy in the United States for sure is definitely going to have issues. And this can be a month where stuff really starts to show up. There could be lots of evictions, lots of unemployment, things going on with work. So one of the ways to deal with this is to use the combination of the tradition of like which things worked that could in the past that could still work in this present day, But then you add in what's completely new and different. What is very now? What is trending now? Where can I innovate in this changing economy to put services out? And in a lot of cases, your creative efforts that you have had as hobbies might turn into some kind of work or income. Okay, and some of that might come from offering free services that turn into paid services because you're getting the word of mouth out there. So it's really, really good for business, and Mars is going to move into your work sector also. So hopefully this will give you some work options, especially if you've been having trouble with what's been going on. Those fiery planets are in the beginning of the month are going to be really nice and smooth. And then the Earth planets are going to be at a challenging angle for you, which doesn't have to be a terrible experience. It just might mean that you have to hem in your just kind of like pull it in and focus. But the good news is that there will be so much energy moving into Earth this month that you can have laser focus and laser discipline. So definitely want to utilize that. As the planets move into Aquarius, they are going to be opposing your placements. So as we progress through January and into February, you're going to have oppositions, and oppositions usually make you feel like you're being pulled in two different directions and that you have to keep all the balls in the air. But the way I like to frame an opposition, even though it can cause some conflicts, it can feel like things are pulling at you in either direction. It's a chance for you to pull so hard that you come up in this shape. It's really sacred geometrical. Okay, so it's like you're being pulled this way and this way. These are the bottom points. And then you come to the solution here at the top of the triangle, which transcend the pulling points. And you have a lot of chance for this transcendence at this time. Those of you at the beginning of the sign, okay, so July born friends in the first few days, and actually really all July born friends, you're going to have some special emphasis, some special pressure, some special focus, possibly extra drama, and it doesn't have to be bad drama. It could be a good drama, but it could be either, because as Saturn and Jupiter are moving through those early degrees of Aquarius, they're opposing those early degrees of Leo. Now, I meant to mention this sooner, but this is for you if your sun is in Leo, if your moon is in Leo, if your rising is in Leo, if you watch your Venus or Mars, if you watch for those other placements. This report is for you, okay? Because all of those placements are like windows out of the house of your experience that show different but equally as valid views of what's going on. So you can watch a report for your sun sign and watch it for your rising sign and watch it for your moon sign, and those will be like the view out of the windows of houses, your house on different sides. Like there's a scene happening here and that's true, and there's a scene happening here and that's true, and there's a scene happening there and that's true. And they're all true at the same time. They don't negate each other. They just kind of feed into each other. It's part of the total experience of being in the house. Also, if you're a late degree Leo, so basically August 11th through the rest of the sign, or 20 to 29 degrees, and the later in degree or later in August you get, the more this is true. I also recommend that you watch my report for Virgo, because a lot of times your chart, you really have both. You're a cuspy, and both of those are going to be relevant. So you might pick up some additional points by also watching the Virgo report, but still watching the Leo report. Okay, so those in the early degree, you're going to have extra energy around, feeling pulled. And a lot of that pull is going to come between your relationships, like you being pulled, you and your partner, you and your family, you and somebody else that you're in a relationship with. You're either pulling against each other or you're working in perfect cooperation with each other. And that's that triangle that I talked about, where it's like, okay, let's get on the same page. Let's get on the same team. Let's do this together. And it can be fabulous for gelling in long-term partners and also, really being productive. And the rest of you, August-born friends, you're not left out of this. This is coming for you. I mean, this is like this, and I don't mean this meaning something bad is coming for you. I mean this focus on your partnerships and relationships. As Jupiter is going to whiz through Aquarius, it's going to bring over the first few months of the year every Leo is going to start to have the expansion in the relationships. People who are looking for their perfect partner may find it. People who are married or are engaged or found their partner might get engaged. People who are engaged might get married. People who are married might have kids. Like, there's a very additive process going on to your partnerships that's getting really geared up now. And any Leo in the spectrum can start to really feel this at this time, where this additive thing and like pulling in long-term relationships of consequence for business and in, you know, your romantic space, or going deeper with the person that you're already with, that's going to be coming up in a huge way. And you're going to all feel that this month, even though those of you in the July born are in the strongest wave of it. It's close enough that everyone in the spectrum can feel this. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about specific for Leos has to do with the full moon in Leo, because obviously we've got, you know, usually have one new moon a year. Sometimes there's two, but we usually have one full moon each year in our sign. Sometimes there's two again, but that's more rare. But you've got the full moon in your sign now. So this is going to be at 9 degrees. So anybody who's at the very end of July is going to feel this the most, or the closer to 9 degrees you are. Very end of July, very early August. You're going to feel this one the most, but it has possibilities for all Leos, for fruition, fulfillment, you know, anything having to do with a creative baby being born, plans being made for your future children or kids you have, something notable going on with your kids. And that full moon's going to be January 28th. So I always like to leave some room around the full moons if possible, because they tend to increase drama, for better or worse. Like, it could be happy, excited drama, or it could be stress drama, you know. But if you leave a little space around that full moon, then you'll be able to show up for whatever comes up. So hopefully that will be wonderful for you and will be just a bright spot of happy fire at that time. Okay, so let's get down into the nitty-gritty of understanding this Jupiter square Uranus aspect. Unlike the upcoming in February Saturn square Uranus aspect, we're only going to have one of these Jupiter-Uranus aspects this year. The Saturn one will have 3 times, and we'll talk about that more next month. That's going to be a very big deal too. But it's important to understand, like, there are must-knows about this transit, because it is a biggie. Whenever the outer planets come in close connection, or exact connection in this case, it definitely brings notable things globally down to the individual level, okay? So the first must know here is that you will feel very anxious, okay? The energy of Uranus really rules like the nervous system in some ways. So it's like when there's an aspect with Uranus, we often feel like our fingers stuck in an electric socket. And so the anxiety levels run super high, and those are going to have to be managed. So you just need to know that going into this month, even though we've already had, you know, a long series of that going on, this month is going to be like that as well, okay? The second thing is that even though, as I mentioned earlier, since all the planets are moving forward, it is a good time to move forward and to make decisions and to do important things, especially in the first half of January before Mercury starts to slide into its retrograde process. But there's a caution here with the Jupiter square Uranus, because people can feel really, really, really compelled to do crazy things. And some of those, if there's like a calculated risk involved, could turn out really well. But there could be an interference with the discernment process of figuring out what those things are. So like extravagance, erratic behavior, you know, because Jupiter rules excess. So like big purchases, big commitments, big, you know, trying to cut something off, or big decisions about like kind of making a clean slate, a clean cut, and then moving forward, like trying to cut ties completely. There is some caution with that. So even though the stars are moving forward and it is good to make these big decisions in some ways, if you can leave your lifeline intact, if you can leave an option, you know, for holding on to some of the old stuff until you can see how the new stuff shakes out, because you might wish you had some of that stuff to go back to, that's a very, very major must know for this aspect. If you've got that option to like wait a little bit until the tensions aren't as high. Wait a little bit to see if you can find a bridge option that includes both of the things that might be in question. It's just can be a little bit sketchy making a clean cut at this time with this aspect. People are also very, receptive to other people's intentions. So whether it's on your personal level with somebody close to you, or whether it's in a level of like a leader or a religious leader or a political leader trying to exert or say things, people are going to be very open to suggestion at this time with this aspect. And actually, there are known cult leaders that have had this aspect in their natal charts, like the capacity to woo somebody over into something that seems so exciting, like it's going to solve all the problems. Just be very wary of anyone or anything that says, now all your problems are going to be gone if you do this thing, unless it's something that's low stakes, low commitment, has protections in order, isn't like one of those big clean cut where you're just like completely separating. If it's something that seems reasonable, and maybe you might not even know if it's reasonable, that's the difficulty. I would say have like people that you trust to cross-reference before you do anything crazy with this aspect, okay? So, let me see what else I wanted to tell you about this. So the energy of rebellion is going to be very strong because of the planet Uranus ruling Aquarius, and now Jupiter's in Aquarius and Saturn's in Aquarius, and then we've got these aspects with Uranus, which rules Aquarius, so it's like the energy of like being a rebel, breaking free is going to be very strong, and you will be able. That's one of the very plus sides of this aspect, even though it is a challenging aspect, we could call it, it's a point of tension. You can break free of things that were shackling you. But the more you direct the breaking of the shackles to things like clearing up addictions, clearing up debt, clearing up, overspending, like clearing up bad habits, the more you can be more sure that it's going to be a good thing what you think that you are breaking free from, okay? Because breaking free for the sake of itself might seem very alluring at this time, and people could make some rash decisions that they later regret. So a lot of caution and care has to be given. Okay, let me see if there's anything else. Yeah, so there, along with this can also come like impatience, because you're wanting to make it happen, and it's towards the middle of the month and things might start slowing down again, or here I'm telling you, like, take a little caution when you move forward. So there could be some of this like frustration with not feeling clear about something. But if you don't feel super clear about something, then definitely I would suggest waiting it out a little longer. The energies will be much more clear in March and April for trying to make some big decisions again, in the event that you're not completely clear at this time. Some other things about Jupiter squaring Uranus are, first of all, that it may coincide with major trajectory changes. And this is an interesting topic now because we've just come out of eclipse season and we're still kind of getting some leftover things from the November, December eclipses, which definitely are trajectory changing and can really set people on a completely different course. And this aspect does the same thing. So it's very kind of eclipse reminder like in that way, where it's, you could see something come, and if it's coming out of your control and you can't do anything about it, then your choice is to clear up the resistance and accept it, or look for possible solutions or ways around it. And if those can't be found, then, to try to regain your peace on the topic. But it does often coincide with very dramatic life changes, and also changes in fortune. So people may make a bunch of money and all of a sudden be rich. People may lose a bunch of money and all of a sudden, have a reversal of their financial situation. So those types of things can happen. An analogy that I've been thinking of for this aspect has to do with those stories we hear about certain people who have become famous too fast, or become famous too young, or become successful too young or too fast, or just too plain successful and famous, right? Sometimes, and I'm not saying that this is true for all people who are successful or famous, obviously, but there are many people we've heard of that have just not been able to handle that level of change and that extreme change or that extreme experience, and it has burnt them up. And this energy is very much like that. So many people might be thrown into the spotlight, thrown into fame, thrown into fortune, or thrown into not fortune, just like a big change. But a lot of it can be very positive, like, you get your dream that you worked for, but you need some help and support managing the openness that comes with it. Sometimes this aspect can bring too much freedom and too many options, and the confusion that comes from those things, So definitely, if you're in a position like this where something like this occurs, remember what I said, so that you can seek out support to help you stay grounded and help you stay centered and help you make good choices during the major changes. Because zealotry is another word that I'm using to describe what this energy can bring. And even though the aspect is happening on the 17th of January, this is a big one. So we're feeling this, even a month or more before it's starting to build, and we'll feel it after. It'll flow after. It's like, it's a big one. We're not going to feel it just on the day and the week of this. This is a trend that's kind of building in our subconscious. It's making itself more external the closer we get to the middle of January, and then it's present all through January. Really, this is strong, and then it will start to fade out, into February and into the beginning of March. Then that cycle will be complete with this particular aspect, but it is much more longer lived, and it can create very permanent effects as well, depending on the decisions made. So just be excited if your life is expanding in wonderful ways, but just keep your center and be very cautious with the decisions that you make, understanding all of these pieces now. Okay, so I know I've given you a lot to digest here. If you would like to have even more information on how you can understand and utilize the energies at play from the planetary perspective, then go to anniehelpsyou.com. There you'll see lots of blogs that I've written on astrology and other topics, but there you can also sign up for my free email newsletter. And with that, you will get delivered into your inbox 1 month early my written report of the sweet and salty aspects and their dates and what you can expect from them, as well as my general write-up of the month in a written version so that you can go back over it and digest it. So it's not a transcript of these videos, but it is a summary and some more details about the general energies at play. Okay, so you can get that at anniehelpsyou.com, and you'll also receive my 28-day virtual coaching program called Shine for free as a member of my email community. Okay, so all that's at anniehelpsyou.com. Then you can go to cozybysweetstarlight.com, and you'll see my written horoscopes up 1 month early, as well as book recommendations for each sign for each month, depending on the sun, where the sun is for each sign, plus healthy lifestyle and spiritual lifestyle blogs on there. It's a beautiful site. You will love it. So you can check that out, cozybysweetstarlight.com. Definitely also go to my school, Luminous Life Multiversity, at lumelife.com, L-U-M-E life.com. I've got free courses there on health and wellness, also on increasing your abundance. You can see those free courses, and you can see my paid course called Becoming a Professional Astrologer Mastery Course. If you think I put a lot into the free resources that I give you every month, you should see what I do for the paid resources. It is quite crazy comprehensive, and it will equip you to do whatever you'd like to do in astrology, whether it's just for your own self-development and helping your family and friends, or if you'd like to include it in part of a professional offering, or just do astrology as your work. I will teach you what you need to know to do that. So you can see all of that there. And very exciting, it's definitely time to get my book, Planetology, How to Align with the Natural Rhythms of the Universe. It's out officially on December 8th of 2020. You can pre-order it before then, and you can find it on Audible. It's on Kindle. It's in a print version. It's on Barnes & Noble Nook. It's a beautiful hardcover reference book that you'll go back to time and time again. all of the Books A Million stores and all of the Barnes & Noble stores in the entire US has ordered copies of this book. So you should be able to walk in and get it unless somebody's bought them already. But you can also order them on Amazon and at independent booksellers, many independent booksellers worldwide, and also some big booksellers worldwide have also stocked this book. So you can find it pretty much anywhere. So you can see that, more of that, by just searching for Planetology and my name. And I hope you have a wonderful month. Happy New Year, and I'll see you next month. Bye.